You're listening to the Public Finance Live podcast series, brought to you by the PF editorial team directly from CIPFA's 2026 annual conference in London, England. You can listen to our full series of episodes on the big issues being discussed at this year's conference by searching PF Live wherever you get your podcasts or by visiting the podcast section of the Public Finance website. Hello, I'm John Watkins, Group Editor of Public Finance, and I'm your host for this PF Live podcast. This episode is called Getting Ready for LGR from a Systems Perspective. With local government reorganisation firmly on the agenda now, it's more critical than ever to understand your strategy for getting ready and implementing change to your back office systems. No matter if you're separating or merging, there are system and integration implications to be considered, and we will delve into all of that here today. The episode is sponsored by Vision ERP, providers of managed enterprise resource planning solutions to the public sector, and I'm pleased to say I'm joined by two of Vision ERP's directors, Matt Bland and Dave Elbro. Matt, Dave, welcome. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. Good to see you again.
So we're at the first day of PF Live 2026. I know you've been before. In fact, this isn't our first podcast together. We've done this before as well. What are you looking forward to? What are you hoping to get from the event this year?
It's mainly conversations that we have with lots of different folk out there, different organisations. We've done a demo this year, which is the first sort of time PF Live have done that, which has been fantastic. And yeah, it's just basically reiterating what we do. We do a lot of Unit 4 ERP implementations, and it's getting people that have perhaps never seen it before to have a little look and chatting to people who already use it to see, if they can do anything more with it and their supporting applications.
Yeah, and meeting some old friends as well.
Yeah.
It's normally at this point in the day that people come, recognise that we're in here and start making faces outside, but look, there's one, Danny. Just like that. So yeah, but no, it's good. Just like Dave says, the conversations, the chat, catching up with people. It's good.
Yeah, networking in action right there. All right, let's get into this topic then. Getting ready for LGR from a systems perspective. I mentioned in the intro that LGR is now really firmly on the agenda, working a way to replace sort of England's two-tier system of separate county and district councils with a much more streamlined single-tier unitary authorities. So tell us how pressing it is for local authorities to get moving on this now and get themselves where they should be.
Yeah, I mean, we come at this from an ERP perspective because that's kind of our bread and butter. But if you take a large organisation, a county council, for example, they're going to have hundreds of different applications. So LGR isn't just about moving from one system to another. It's about large-scale transformation piece, and there's every system that you ever use from the county council's perspective, who are potentially going to be splitting, or the district and boroughs that are going to be sort of grouping together in whatever the new entity structure is. So the key thing really is to sort of start considering the scoping of what is involved in everything. And it might feel like you've got a year to do a lot of this work, but that year disappears, as we know firsthand. So it's a case of getting well prepared and having the right conversations, involving as many different stakeholders, because it might just be an application gets forgotten about, and that could be the make or break of a successful project. So it's really getting everything in sort of organised and scoped out, and
Yeah, and then the earlier the better, because with these projects there's a lot to do. So not only are there a lot of systems, a lot of people need to be informed, get their views sought, have their input into the project. All of that needs to be wrangled, and the longer that folk leave it, especially the setup part, the less time they've got to do the do.
Yeah, and testing as well. Testing's such a huge thing, and again, it depends on how you're structuring in the new world. But that could be testing everything multiple times and having the resource available, having the backfill. If you're busy doing a BAU role, we'll need someone to cover that while you get involved in a project. And there's just lots to think about, isn't there?
So getting your house in order is getting ready to go is the message. But given local authorities' history of siloed and multiple streams of data and information, how can they get themselves in order in that sense to make sure they're prepared to make the right decisions and set the right direction for them?
Yeah, I mean, with any sort of project, you're going to have a good project plan, hopefully. So, as part of working with a third party like ourselves or other organisations out there, you're going to build some kind of project per application or per group of applications, depending on what's in scope there. And ultimately, one of the first parts of a project is going to be sort of design based on scoping. So we're going to listen to the feedback of the end users to understand what do you really need in the new world, whatever that looks like for yourselves. We've got to have like a list of safe and perhaps legal requirements that we have to deliver above all else to make sure that the organisation can operate properly. And it's making sure we've captured those design principles. Otherwise, what are you building anything for if it's not going to work when you need it?
Yeah. A lot of it is just knowing what you've got as well. So unless you physically can like get a list of all the systems, all the processes that are going on, you can't be sure that you're going to capture it and transform it so it's ready for vesting day for when the new authorities are set up. So like a lot of, like Dave says, a lot of effort into the perhaps design or the scoping can pay dividends later, because if you get close to vesting day and you realise you've missed something, you're going to be in trouble and you have to really react quickly to that.
That's it. A lot of applications out there. There's like many ways to sort of crack the nut. You can configure it in 2 different ways to get you like a good output. And sometimes you have a bit of a split between who wants what option. And what we've found really working with other organisations now is to go with the path of least resistance. If both of options are viable options, just go with the one that everybody likes, because you'll have less resistance when you come to the design and when you come into testing, and things generally just go smoother. Yeah.
Complex change programs rarely run totally smooth all the way through. But how smooth can local authority organisations expect this process to be, and how likely is it that the road to completion will hit some bumps along the way?
I mean, given that this is quite a large project for anyone involved in LGR, I think you're absolutely right. There's going to have to be some contingency planning somewhere. The more you can put in that, the better. So basically, don't start the project planning towards the end of your window before you've got to go live in your organisational setup. That's kind of the key message, really. There's going to be, depending on everybody's time frames, people might go into this thinking they've got a year to get everything in order, and it's not that big of a project, but time slips away. You get roped into BAU roles. So it's better to sort of almost get ready for it and mothball it at the end than to try and rush it and squeeze it in and get things wrong along the way. So planning is the key thing, really.
Yeah, it's the old adage, you fail to plan, you plan to fail. But a lot of it as well is also is getting the right people, getting the right resources in. Each council will have their own experts, and what we found works really well is when they get sort of married up with us as the system implementees, as the system experts. So that we can really start working together. Someone just slipped my mind. I was going to say something else, and it was really cool, and it's gone.
Well, it might come back, but you mentioned, you touched on people there, Matt, and with any sort of major transformation program, bringing people along on the journey is always really important. What guidance and advice have you got for achieving that with this specifically?
That was it. It's just come back to me, and it does segue nicely into this point as it happens. But it was like you got to kind of instill in the project team like a group, that it's not being done to you. We're all working together, and just simple things like having a positive, forward-thinking mindset, which is what I think part of the morning session was about. Was it happens, but having that mindset so that when something inevitably does go wrong, because it will, because they're big projects and there's a lot of complex moving parts, you've got the right attitudes to be able to deal with it and the right skills to be able to deal with it as well.
Yeah, that's it. So as we keep saying, they're large-scale projects. And it's communication is going to be the key thing that goes with this. There's going to be county councils, there's going to be districts and boroughs. It's trying to bring everybody along that journey where possible. Everyone's going to have a voice, requirements, and if we don't capture all those requirements, the end product isn't going to do what you're expecting it to do. So it's really bringing everybody along with that journey. If you can get people in, again, we do ERPs, but this applies to every application out there. When it comes to testing, the more people you can get involved in testing, iron out those bugs if they're any found, you kind of get that continuation of sort of using that software when it goes live. People are already familiar with it because the testing opportunity acts as a training opportunity at the same token. So it kind of works well.
Yeah, I mean, getting people involved right at the very start and getting the right people. Literally last week at a real world example. So we were doing a workshop on the core finance part of the system, talking about chart of accounts. And we were like, we're just going to take what we have now and use that. Yeah, great. One of the guys from the districts and boroughs sort of put their hand up and said, what about the housing revenue account? And because the guys in county don't have one and didn't do it, they hadn't thought of it. So that was a real world example of getting the right people in the right conversations. It would potentially be missed otherwise.
Yeah, and it's a big, complex change. You talked about things like that are coming up and surprising people. And amidst all of that, how do authorities ensure that they're delivering the right final outcome? How do they keep their focus on the final outcome while they're handling all that stuff along the way?
There we go. Go on then. I think success criteria. So you've got to go into it knowing what you want to achieve. And again, the organisation we're working with at the minute, they called it their safe and legal list. So they properly sat down and thought, what do we need to do on vesting day? Or what do these new organisations need to do on vesting day to make sure they can operate safely and legally? And that's been almost like the guiding lights going through it. Again, as we've gone into the workshops, things have come out where people have gone, oh, we could do this, oh, we could do that. But they are being really focused on actually, we need to do the things that we need to do now, and we need to try and not change a lot. Again, because, you could, if you had the luxury of time, make things better for the outcome. But the focus very much in this project is, let's get to vesting day, let's get set up safely and legally, then we can change after. But that has been like the main priority, I'd say.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, especially with the tight timescales as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, lots of authorities will be partnering with organisations like yours for support through the journey. So what are the characteristics that define the right partner for authorities looking to bring somebody in to support them?
Yeah, I mean, these sort of implementations or these projects are large scale, but they're ultimately transformation projects. And to have any transformation project work, you've got to work with an organisation, if you are doing it with external organisations, that can work with the group of people involved in that project. So it can't be a project that's delivered to somebody and almost, take it or leave it. You've got to kind of embed in that team, work with the stakeholders, build the trust, work with them, understand their pain points, and it kind of helps the rest of the project run smoothly a little bit.
Yeah, and picking and it applies again to any application, but picking a partner that's got proven experience in the applications that you're looking to use going forward and looking to transform, you are going to very, again, talking back to the things that if we go wrong, you're going to need people who know what they're doing, who can react and who can come up with solutions almost on the spot, if you like. Again, like we're doing design, we're going to go into builds, and then we're going to have a period of testing. If something crops up, then we're not going to throw our hands in here and go, oh my God, we don't know what to do. We're going to be proactive and sort of fix it. And again, for any other application out there, that is getting them key skills in.
And what is it that separates you apart from the others? I mean, is there one unique thing that you bring to the table that you'd say others are not?
I think our lot of flexibility generally. We're quite a small organisation, but we fit in really well with whoever we work with. And I think that can be quite refreshing. We can get some very formal organisations out there, but we just wanted to work as a blended team. And I think having that flexibility allows us to do that.
Yeah, for me, it's the way we approach things. So we're not like other businesses. We tend to be a lot more down to earth, honest. Like we will say no if we think you're going to do something silly. But it's not like computer says no for the sake of it. We have actually, we worked for local authorities in the past. That's our background. That's our bread and butter. A lot of our staff have as well. And we've sort of sat where the customers sat. And I think what that helps us do is relate more to their situation. And then again, like I say, we're not just stuffy guys in suits. We'll have a chat. We'll get into the details. We'll understand. We'll take criticism on board where it's warranted. And I think the main thing from all of that is that we're sort of focused on the customer and focused on getting the right outcomes for them because we care, because that's where we've been before.
And, you mentioned you've worked with lots of local authorities in the past. If you had one piece of guidance each for where we're at on this journey now, what would it be?
I think mine would be come prepared to make a decision. There's the amount of times we end up being at a sort of a loggerhead because there's a few different options on the table and no one can just say it's A or B. That can potentially set back a whole project. So that's probably my recommendation, my advice.
Yeah. No, you picked the good one there, I think. It is like that. So speed of decision making, empower your SMEs, maybe not the top level, but lower down to make decisions, make those recommendations. Don't sort of dally. I think we were talking to some guys today who are about to find out what their LGR split's going to be, either today or tomorrow. And probably what we'd say for their benefit and others like them is, get ahead of it, work out, start doing that scoping work now, look at what your applications you have, and then make a decision on how those will need to change to fit the new world post-vesting date.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, brilliant. Thank you, both of you, Matt and Dave, for a really insightful chat. We are broadcasting live and competing with the occasional announcement in the main hall here, and thanks for battling through that as well. Just before we wrap, if our listeners want to connect with you guys, what's the easiest way to do that?
I mean, for this event, we're over at stand A1, so come and say hello. Yeah. After the event, so another day, we've got our website, visionerp.co.uk. We've got our email details on there, phone number. Just get in touch and we'll sort of have some good conversations.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, Dave, Matt, thanks for joining us again this year. I hope you enjoy the rest of PF Live 2026.
Thank you very much. See you again next year.
You've been listening to an episode of our Public Finance Live podcast series, brought to you by the PF editorial team directly from SIPFA's 2026 annual conference in London, England. You can listen to our full series of episodes on the big issues being discussed at this year's conference by searching PF Live wherever you get your podcasts.